Let's continue with freehand sketching. Uh, we can say that that's actually a tool for thinking or expressing. As architects, we use freehand sketching as a tool for thinking, to make up our mind, to see our ideas in a different perspective. And sometimes we use this tool to express our thoughts to other people. Let's look at the meaning first. Sketch is an English word, and in Turkish we call it eskiz. It's originally a French word. Uh, it means draft, rough copy, and worksheet. A rough drawing representing the chief features of an object or scene, and often made as a preliminary study. So in architecture, we can use this tool for two situations. First, we can draw or picturize or portray something that exists in a concrete form. This is an actual object or something that is real, that exists. And with this drawing, with this picturizing, actually we are indeed taking a note for ourselves mainly, but we are not taking this note with texts. Instead, we are doing a drawing. And in the second step, or as a second option, we can use this tool to express something that does not exist yet. It's not in the material form, it doesn't exist, it's in our head, it's a thought of us, and we want to project this thought on a piece of paper or on a or it doesn't have to be on paper, obviously, on a suitable medium, so that other people can understand what we are thinking. So, of course, we don't have certain rules for this because it is freehand and it should be free, but we generally prefer sketching with a pencil, which has a very soft lead and a blunt tip. We don't want a sharp tapered tip, and it's generally very thick, like 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters. It's same with your drafting pencil, but thicker. And we generally use papers. And please do not worry if your freehand drawing or freehand lettering is not good, because if you keep working on it, if you keep practicing, I'm sure it will get better in time. And please do not forget that we are not artists. We are not aiming for making a picture or a painting. We are just using this technique as a tool. Let's look at the first group. It is mainly closer to art, painting. As you see here, this is a very nice sketch. But an architect behaves differently from a painter. Their goal is, the goal of an architect is to examine, to question, or just to take a graphical note for an object. This can be anything that interests the architect. It can be a building, a desk, a furniture, a bridge, a human, an animal, or just a scene and an environment. But it has to do something with the architect. He finds it interesting in somehow, and he wants to take a note for himself. Maybe he is collecting these notes, and in the future he is going to use them as references for his creations. But you may, at this point, you may wonder that instead of taking a photo with his cell phone, why is he spending his time with sketching? This is an example of a very famous architect, his sketch. And when you look at this drawing, you can see easily that it's drawing quality in terms of painting art is not very good. And please do not forget that we are not trying to be artists. We are not painting. We are not trying to be a painter. And the name of this very famous architect is Le Corbusier. Maybe you are familiar with him, or even if you don't, you will hear his name a lot from now on. And this is his sketch. And when we examine this sketch, it's a bit vague. I cannot say that it is exactly this place. I understand that it looks like a scene from a natural environment, like these looks like mountains, and maybe these can be trees, and probably there is a fence. Maybe this is a farm, but I cannot be sure because his main idea was not to express something to other people. He is not worried about creating a painting or a drawing that can be easily understood. His main goal was maybe or probably to take a note for himself. So unless he can understand, that's all. That's enough. He doesn't have to do anything more. While sketching, we are examining certain features of that thing we are looking at. Maybe its proportions, or maybe we are looking its surface textures or colors in detail. Or maybe we are interested in its relations with other things around it, or its effects on us. This can go on. That is the reason why we prefer sketching to taking photos, because when you are taking photo with your cell phone, it takes just a second. You just press a button and that's all. And you don't spare time to examine what you are seeing. That's all. But when you are sketching, you have to examine it in order to take the note. And you don't have to make a complete painting. You don't have to finish it with every detail. You can just note what interests you most, and that will be all. Now we have to look at the objects. There are 4 main forms for objects. The first one is non-dimensional. It's point. And when I move the point towards a certain direction, I get a line. And now I have just 1 dimension. If I meet 4 lines in a shape, or at least 3 lines, I will get a plane. And I have now 2 dimensions, 1 at this direction and 2, the second one, at this direction. If I collect or merge more than 1 plane, then I will get a volume which has 3 dimensions, right? This is the first, the second, and the third dimension. So every object around us have either one of these. That depends how we are looking at it. So when I'm sketching, probably I am concentrating on these objects in different angles, and maybe their relations, or maybe their proportions, or maybe their other properties, such as, let me give you an example. This is Galata Tower, and when you look at this object, at this direction, from this angle, you realize that that is a volume. It's a cylindrical shape. It has a cylindrical shape. So it's a volume, basically. But when you look at this object from above, then you will realize that here, it is a point. It becomes a point if you are far away enough. So it's not just a point as an object, but it also a very interesting point that collects our vision. Wherever we are, we tend to find Galata Tower to designate our direction, to understand our position. It's a very famous building. It's an attraction point for tourists. And we see here on this map, there are many roads coming up to this point. So it is a point in a different perspective. And here we see windows on a wall, but we can say that the wall is a plane and these are lines on that wall. Or another example like this, this is a building in Germany, and we see that this surface, this plane has been divided by inclined lines, white lines. Some of these planes are transparent and some are semi-transparent. And we have different colored lines that comes and goes through this surface. So every object, even it's a building, even it is an object, everything around us are made out of either a point or it may has lines, it may contain planes, or it can be in a three-dimensional form, which we call volume. This is a very short video about the principles of design. Let's see. When I concentrate on just one object, then I am examining it, its surface properties, its size, its dimensions, its form, etc. But when I start to compare two different objects, it doesn't have to be the same kind. By the way, I can compare a point with a volume or two different volumes to each other, then I will realize something else. There is a relationship between them. And this relationship can be defined as a balance, as a balanced relationship. There can be an alignment between these different objects. And with each step, you can imagine the opposite. Like there can be a balanced relationship, or they can be unbalanced. They can be aligned in a direction, or they can be distributed. Something like that. One of them can be emphasized. There can be certain proportions between them. Talk about a contrast. Or unity. And these can be the main things that interests an architect. As I told you before, we don't have to make a full drawing. We don't have to draw everything that we are seeing at the moment. We can just make a sketch that interests us the most and leave the rest like this. Like here is a section of Ayasofya, but it is an unfinished section because the architect who drew this he is just interested in this portion, and that's all. He got what he needs, and he's finished. Another sketch of Le Corbusier, and when I look at this, I don't know where this place was. Why did he do this sketch? What was his purpose? I didn't read anything about this sketch. I'm just looking at it, and I get this idea. He is standing in a place with columns. They were arranged in an order. There is a repetition, and these look like bars on a window, and behind that bar or behind those columns, he has a very nice view. Again, I'm guessing that these are mountains and there are a greenery and stuff like that. So maybe he is trying to see how this nice view of nature looks like behind these columns. And maybe he will create another scene afterwards. This time he is going to remove the columns or make the gaps between them wider, and he is going to compare which one will be better, stuff like that. But again, do not forget, we are not artists. That's not our goal to make a beautiful art painting. We can be interested. It doesn't have to be a certain object like Galata Tower or like a building or building surface. We can just be interested in an environment. This looks like a very nice plaza or square, we can say, with nice buildings at its borders, and we see that there is a life going on, a very nice living environment. There are people, probably these are cafes, and there are umbrellas. They are staying under these umbrellas and maybe probably having a good time. And there are people, passerbys. There is this upper floor and maybe a bridge or something. We see a clock tower, and there are other people in this upper floor. So we see a very vibrant life here, a very vibrant, very nice city life, urban life. So maybe the architect is interested not of objects here, because we see that they are not completed. I cannot tell what kind of buildings are these. I can just get a general idea, but I cannot see the details. But what am I seeing here is the life itself. And this is another good example in my opinion. And when I look at this picture, I feel like that the architect was in an historical environment. This looks like a historical wall, maybe a fountain, and there is a roof, like a balcony, over this fountain or wall. And I get that there is a very dark place here and here, it looks like it's shadow. So I'm thinking that this is a very hot place, very with very high air temperatures. So maybe the architect is interested in creating shadowy, so cooler areas in a very hot environment, hot climate. And in the second group, we can say that it's a part of architectural design process. For an architect, this group is a tool of thinking and deciding. They can be considered as premises or visual drafts of future living spaces. So in the design process, the architect is thinking, coming up with decisions, creating the spaces, the surfaces in his mental eye, let's say, in his imagination. But time to time, he needs to see them on a piece of paper or on a solid medium so that he can observe it or examine it in a detailed way. So he is using this as a deciding tool. Time to time, he is projecting all his ideas on that medium, and he is playing with it. Let's look at this example. This is a very nice sketch again. In the first part, we get certain circles. This looks like a round circle, and there are two ellipses, and we have a line here and here. It looks like they are borders. And here again we have a circle and another line. But in my opinion, when I look at something like that, this is a divided organization. This here creates a very strict border, and he is going to organize some certain forms on this left side and some other forms on this right side. And there is another border here. It looks like a surface for all these organizations. And this is his first sketch. And after that, he made another sketch. Now it looks like a building. Here you see this ellipse here turned out to be a terrace space, a balcony space. And it looks like there is a slope, a very certain slope. So it is cantilevered. It is it's going in front of probably there is a very nice view on this direction. So it looks like the building is stretching its arms towards that nice view, and we see that there is a another part which maybe creates a shadowy area, and we again see this border here because that's where the slope ends, and we get a normal surface of terrain, and on the right side he created other spaces. These spaces on the left, they are different from the spaces on the right, and this looks like a tree in my opinion. So there is a tree, there is a very important tree in this organization. And he is playing with proportions, as you can understand. Here you get this higher building with a roof on top. And here with this ellipse, you get those arms that stretch in front of the building to trying to hold that view. And we get this border here. And at the end, yeah, this looks like a building in a more clear way. We see that these are doors, probably the main entrance. There are people on this cantilevered terrace area, and we have windows, and there is a support twin beam probably, and we have trees there. So by playing with these proportions, he is trying to finalize his decisions about this building, about his design. The primal goal of sketching is not to express something to other people. The architect can be either taking notes for themselves or trying to see their ideas in a solid form. Because when all these ideas are in our brains, it's very hard to recognize them like this. It's very hard to change the proportions. It's very hard to create different alternatives. But once they are projected on a piece of paper, I can easily change them and examine them and look them in different perspectives. But if I want to, I can use this tool to express my ideas in a very quick way to other people, such as this example. There's another very nice sketch. It's when you just see this picture, it's very hard to define. Is it an object? Is it a furniture? Is it a building? Can it be a tower or I don't know. It's very hard to say something about it. But when I see this finished constructed building, I can understand that it was a preliminary sketch of this building made by the architect. The name of the building is Mendelssohn's Einstein Tower. In a way, we can say that this is actually a very successful expression of this building. He can draw this sketch in a very quick way, and he can use it as a tool to express his ideas, to tell the details to other people. A sketch of Tadao Ando. He is another very important and famous Japanese architect. Again, we see that he is trying to see something, to examine certain proportions in his creation. And in this example, we see that another architect is working on a facade design, and he is or she is trying to catch the best option, because I can understand easily that this is the same building, and in each step, in each option, he is trying something. He is changing some parts, some windows, some maybe doors, and there are color differences. So he is looking for something. He is trying to get the best idea. We don't have to use a paper and a pencil. I can just make a model and took a picture and sketch digitally, or I can use other materials. I can create videos or actual models or other stuff, or 3D modeling. I can do that, and everything will be a sketch. Here, they made a model, and they took a picture, and with this white pen, probably this is a digital pen, they are trying to come up with different ideas to see how this design can work. If you have seen Big Bang Theory before, you will see that you remember that Sheldon and his roommate, they are using this kind of whiteboards, and they are always writing formulas on it and cleaning it and writing new formulas and cleaning it. This is actually very similar. They have some ideas in their brains, and time to time, they are using this whiteboard as a projection medium so that they can see it in a different angle and criticize their work, and try to find better ideas or better options. For sketching, we can use either technique. We can just use a pencil and a paper, and with that we can draw just lines, or we can make hatches. And in this example, you don't see any lines. There are mainly, it's mainly a painting. I'm using a black lead to paint, to create hatches. I can use both, obviously, or I can use colors. Yes.